After a punishing season, Sophie Cunningham hit a wall. She talked about it openly. The burnout, the stress, the overwhelming noise from a league she says has lost its way. Instead of resting quietly, she did the opposite. Went on record, called out the league's leadership for being out of touch with basketball, and made it clear she's stepping back for her own mental health. In the middle of that storm, Caitlyn Clark's refusal to wear a Colts jersey went viral, and Sophie, exhausted but unfiltered, praised her for it. To Sophie, that simple gesture wasn't just confidence, it was courage. And in backing Clark, she made her own stance impossible to ignore.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
In a world where athletes are expected to smile through the pressure, Sophie's raw honesty broke the mold. Her support for Caitlyn Clark during a suspension backlash wasn't about media spin. It was about defending the rare kind of authenticity she believes the league is trying to suppress. When Sophie threatens to leave, it's not just a personal decision. It's a rallying cry for players who've been pushed too far. This isn't just about one interview or one viral moment. It's about the future of a league that's either going to listen or lose its most honest voices. The WNBA has seen its fair share of heated moments, but this one hit differently. The suspension of Caitlyn Clark over a jersey incident she didn't even turn into a spectacle wasn't just bizarre. It was a tipping point. And Sophie Cunningham? She wasn't going to let it slide. Her response wasn't mild. It wasn't polite. It was bold, confrontational, and laced with frustration years in the making. She made one thing crystal clear. She's done playing the league's PR game, and she might be done playing, period. It all started when Caitlyn Clark, college basketball's golden girl and unapologetic Chiefs fan, was asked to pose in a Colts jersey during a promo event. She didn't wear it. She held it up. That's all. No speech, no rebellion, no drama. Just a subtle refusal to fake allegiance for the sake of a camera. But in a league hypersensitive to image and branding, even that was too much. The moment sparked praise from fans. People loved that Caitlyn stayed loyal, stayed real. But not everyone saw it that way. What followed was backlash, commentary, and somehow a suspension. For what? For not performing the part the league expected her to play? Sophie Cunningham wasn't having it. Her reaction wasn't a tweet or a vague comment. It was a full-on, no-filter interview that shook the foundation of the league. She didn't just defend Caitlyn. She went in on the leadership, the system, and the culture that's been quietly suffocating players behind the scenes. Sophie said what a lot of people in the league have been too scared to say for years. That the people making the calls don't understand basketball. That they're out of touch. That they care more about image than substance. And that players are paying the price for it. She said it with zero hesitation, zero backpedaling. And when asked if she regretted being so blunt, she practically laughed. Because to Sophie, being honest isn't a risk, it's a responsibility. She made it painfully clear that she's tired. Burnout. After a brutal season, after giving everything she had, she's stepping away. And not just for physical recovery. She's stepping away to get her head right. To take a breath. To get away from a system that demands so much and gives so little back in return. That kind of vulnerability is not weakness. It's strength. And it's exactly what the league keeps trying to polish out its players. But Sophie isn't just dragging the league because she's frustrated. She's doing it because she sees the problem on a structural level. She's not just calling out bad decisions. She's calling out an entire culture. One that silences players, flattens personalities, and expects them to smile through the chaos. And what's wild is that through all the fire and frustration, Sophie still finds a way to be funny, human, and real. She's talking about burnout one second, and the next, she's cracking jokes about needing a new purse and counting down the days until her Christmas vacation. She's calling out an entire institution while casually planning a getaway. That balance, that duality, that's what makes her so compelling. She's not a caricature of the angry athlete. She's a fully formed, complex person who's done pretending everything is okay when it's clearly not. Her honesty hits because it's not strategic. It's just her, and that scares people. Because when someone like Sophie, with her experience and presence, starts challenging the system so openly, it creates a ripple effect. Players notice, fans notice, and the league can't ignore it. What's even more powerful is how she linked her support of Caitlyn Clark to the larger issue of authenticity in the sport. Sophie didn't just see a rookie standing her ground. She saw someone refusing to fall in line with the PR-first mentality that's plagued the league for years. That simple act of not putting on a jersey became a statement, a line in the sand. And Sophie's respect for that move was immediate. They don't play the same. They don't talk the same. But they're both done conforming. Sophie called it out directly. This expectation that athletes should be polished and predictable, always smiling, always marketable. It's exhausting, and it's fake. And more, it's being exposed for the controlling nonsense that it is. She said what a lot of people have tiptoed around for years. The leadership isn't listening. They're disconnected. They're making calls without understanding the sport, the grind, or the athletes themselves. And that disconnect, it's driving players to the edge. Sophie's not just speaking for herself. She's speaking for the teammates who can't. For the players who are scared of fines, suspensions, and reputational damage. She's using her platform to amplify the voices that have been silenced by fear and red tape. And the fans? They're responding. Because in a sports world that's increasingly overscripted and fake, authenticity resonates. Watching someone speak their truth without rehearsing it for marketability is rare. And it's refreshing. The league may not love it, but fans do. Sophie is laying it all out. The burnout, the hypocrisy, the frustration, the ridiculous double standards. She's tired of being asked to shrink herself to fit into a version of professionalism that has no space for real emotion, real critique, or real people. She's also aware that she's not everyone's favorite. She knows people find her too loud, too aggressive, too honest. But here's the thing, she doesn't care. She's not here to make everyone comfortable. She's here to make things better. And if that means making people uncomfortable along the way, so be it. Because what's the alternative? Silence? Conformity? Faking it just to survive in a system that doesn't respect the players who make it work. Sophie's not interested. She's stepping away to protect her peace, to regain control, and maybe even to make a point. That it's okay to say enough. That's okay to speak up. That prioritizing your mental health and calling out dysfunction should be seen as leadership, not insubordination. She's leaving, but she's not backing down. And she's leaving a trail of truth behind her that the league can't clean up. What happens next? That's up to the league. Do they brush this off as another emotional moment from a passionate player? Or do they finally listen? Do they fix the disconnect between players and leadership? Do they start respecting the people who actually play the game? Or do they keep punishing authenticity while wondering why their stars keep burning out? One thing's for sure. Sophie Cunningham's voice won't be easy to forget. She's forced a conversation the league's been avoiding for too long. And now that it's started, good luck putting it back in the box. So what do you think? Did Sophie go too far? Or not far enough? Was Caitlyn Clark's suspension justified? Or just another tone-deaf response to a player staying real? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and hit that subscribe button if you're here for the full truth, no sugarcoating. Because the chaos? It's not slowing down anytime soon. At this point, it's impossible to deny that Sophie Cunningham just exposed the WNBA's most uncomfortable truth. It's a league that claims to support women, but often silences the very voices that make it worth watching. Let's stop pretending this was ever about a jersey. Caitlyn Clark didn't commit some grave offense. She didn't cause a scene. She didn't disrespect anyone. She simply held up a jersey she didn't feel comfortable wearing, stayed true to herself, and moved on. But apparently, in this league, authenticity is the real violation. Caitlyn didn't play the corporate mascot. She didn't pretend to be someone she's not. And for that, she got hit with the one thing the league knows will send a message: a suspension. Not a warning, not a conversation. A full-on disciplinary action over an act so mild, it wouldn't raise eyebrows anywhere else. And that right there? That's what lit the fire under Sophie Cunningham. Because Sophie didn't just react to the suspension. She saw the message behind it. Stay in line. Smile for the camera. Be grateful. Be quiet. But Sophie's not built for that. She's been grinding in this league long enough to see the patterns. She knows how this game is played off the court. She's watched players get penalized for speaking their truth while others get rewarded for playing nice. And she's done pretending this system makes sense. So she used her platform to say what everyone else is afraid to. The league is out of touch, the leadership doesn't get it, and the people making the decisions about players' futures don't even understand the sport they're running. And she didn't flinch while saying it. She dragged the whole house down. League executives? Clueless. The environment? Exhausting. The politics? Enough to make even the most passionate athlete question why they're still here. And then she did something even more rare. She admitted she's burnt out. Not just tired. Done. Not because she doesn't love the game, but because she can't keep pretending that the behind-the-scenes chaos doesn't affect the people who actually have to show up and perform every single day. She spoke openly about needing a break, about taking a step back to protect her peace, about prioritizing her mental health in a league that pushes players until they snap, and then acts surprised when they do. That level of honesty? Unheard of, because this league, it doesn't reward vulnerability. It punishes it. Sophie's saying she's exhausted, disillusioned, and possibly ready to walk away. And instead of concern, you can practically hear the PR alarms going off in the background. Because when your most unfiltered player tells the truth, your most polished storylines fall apart. But here's where it gets even messy, eh? Through all of this, Sophie isn't just tearing things down. She's pointing to what could be better. She's not asking for perfection. She's asking for honesty. For room to be human. For the kind of league where players don't have to check themselves at every turn, worried that one misstep could derail their entire career. She wants players to speak freely without fearing fines, to take care of their mental health without being seen as weak, to express opinions without PR teams hovering like watchdogs. And her admiration for Caitlyn Clark? It's not just respect, it's relief. Relief that someone new came in and didn't immediately fold. That someone had the confidence to be unapologetically real, even when it would have been easier to just go along with the script. Sophie saw Caitlyn's gesture for what it was, subtle, brave, and completely outside the mold. And she loved it. Because that mold? That's what's been breaking players for years. She's been vocal about it before. This isn't her first time calling out the league. But this time feels different. More final. She's not threatening to leave as a bluff. She's openly considering it because, as she sees it, staying in a system that refuses to evolve is more damaging than walking away from it. And let's not pretend that her leaving wouldn't matter. Sophie isn't just another player. She's a personality. She's the kind of voice the league should be celebrating. Bold, honest, magnetic. But instead, she's left feeling like she's too much. Too vocal. Too emotional. Too everything. And when someone like that says, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, it should be a wake-up call. But will it be? Because here's the thing. The league loves using empowerment as a buzzword. They love selling the image of strong, fearless women breaking barriers. But when that strength turns inward, when players start demanding accountability from the inside, suddenly it's inconvenient. Sophie's trying to be more than just a player. She's trying to be a voice. A representative for every woman in that locker room who's been told to quiet down. And her frustration doesn't come from pettiness. It comes from caring too much. From wanting this league to be better. From knowing it can be better. And it should be listening. Because whether she stays or walks, Sophie Cunningham just redefined the conversation. She turned what could have been another forgettable controversy into a full-on reckoning. She forced everyone to pay attention. To ask uncomfortable questions. Why are athletes still being punished for being themselves? Why does honesty come with consequences, but silence gets rewarded? Why are people with the least basketball experience making the biggest basketball decisions? And most importantly, why is mental health only taken seriously after a meltdown? Sophie's not perfect. She knows that. She's made headlines before, and not all of them were flattering. But through it all, she's been consistent, real, and fiercely unapologetic. That's what makes her so compelling. She's the exact kind of figure this league needs, flawed, fearless, and willing to shake things up. So yeah, maybe she's shopping for vacation fits and counting down her next trip. Maybe she's done being the league's emotional punching bag. But that doesn't mean she's checked out. It means she's finally putting herself first. And in a league that demands everything from its players and gives very little in return, that's not selfish. That's survival. Sophie Cunningham isn't just threatening to leave. She's issuing a challenge. Fix it, or keep losing the very people who make this game matter. So now the spotlight's not just on Caitlyn. It's not just on Sophie. It's on the league. What will they do? Will they keep pretending everything is fine while punishing authenticity behind the scenes? Or will they finally listen to the players who are giving them everything and asking for the bare minimum in return? We'll see. But one thing's for sure. Sophie Cunningham just gave the WNBA its rawest reality check yet. And whether she stays or not, the league will feel her absence. Because the moment she walks, that's not just one player leaving. That's a voice, a movement, and a warning walking right out the door. You have to wonder, who's really running this league? And who is it for? Because when Sophie Cunningham goes public with everything she's been holding in, and the immediate reaction from league leadership is radio silence. That speaks volumes. It's not just about whether or not they agree with her. It's about the fact that they won't even engage. And honestly, that silence might be louder than anything Sophie said. It tells you everything you need to know about the culture behind the scenes. The WNBA talks a big game about being progressive, about empowering women, about celebrating individuality, until that individuality doesn't fit the brand. Caitlyn Clark refused to play the part for 1 second. 1 second. She didn't disrespect the league. She didn't start a protest. She just opted out of pretending. And what did she get in return? A suspension. For not wearing a jersey that didn't represent her. For not conforming to a photo op. And somehow, the league thought that was a reasonable response. Like that wasn't going to trigger a tidal wave of backlash. Like players, fans, and media wouldn't immediately ask, wait, this is what we're doing now. But then comes Sophie, and she's not asking questions. She's answering them. She's confirming what a lot of players have whispered in private for years. This league isn't built to support outspoken athletes. It's built to control them. And she's not here for it anymore. When she said she feels like league executives don't know basketball, she wasn't being dramatic. She was stating a cold reality. That decisions are being made at the top by people who don't understand the game, or worse, don't understand the people who play it. Think about how exhausting that is. Fighting through a grueling season, trying to perform at the highest level, pushing through injuries, fatigue, emotional stress, only to have your career dictated by people who've never stepped on the court in your shoes. And when you try to raise your voice, you get labeled difficult, unprofessional, emotional. It's no wonder Sophie is burnt out. She wasn't vague about it either. She straight up said she needs time. Not just physically, but mentally. She's done pretending the grind doesn't affect her. Done hiding the toll it takes to constantly be under scrutiny from people who don't understand what it costs to stay in the game. And yet, through all the frustration, she's still cracking jokes. Still talking about holiday plans. Still sprinkling in comments about outfits and vacation shopping. And that's what makes her so dangerous to the league, because she's not just angry. She's multidimensional. She can rip apart the system 1 minute and talk about fashion the next. She's showing fans that players aren't just machines. They're people with opinions, personalities, exhaustion, and dreams that have nothing to do with basketball. That balance? That's what fans actually want. The full picture. But the league? Still clinging to its old blueprint. Still expecting players to be one-dimensional brand ambassadors. Predictable, clean-cut, safe. The problem? That's not real. And fans know it. People didn't fall in love with Sophie Cunningham because she was a perfect, polished media robot. They love her because she's fiery, honest, unfiltered, because when she speaks, she means it, even if it makes people uncomfortable. And now, after all the chaos, she's standing by every word. Not backing down, not apologizing. In fact, she's pushing even harder. She's not just defending Caitlyn Clark's right to be herself. She's demanding that all players be given that freedom. She knows what it's like to carry the emotional weight of being the voice, of saying the things no one else wants to say out loud. And instead of shying away from it, she's owning it. She's using her voice while she still can. because she knows not every player gets that luxury. And when she says she might leave, it doesn't come off like a threat. It feels like a last resort, like she's tried everything else. Like this is what happens when you've been speaking into a void for too long. And honestly, can you blame her? The game she loves is still there. The teammates, the fans, the competition, but the environment, that's what's broken. And she's tired of waiting for someone else to fix it. Her burnout isn't just about minutes played or practices missed. It's about always being on, always having to guard your words, smile for cameras, stay professional while getting no real support behind the scenes. That kind of emotional labor eats away at you. And if someone like Sophie, who's passionate, vocal, emotionally invested, is on the verge of walking away, what message does that send to younger players? That your honesty will cost you? That if you want a long career, you'd better learn to play nice and keep quiet? That's not empowerment. That's control. And Caitlyn Clark? She's already facing it. She stepped into the league with sky-high expectations and the kind of media attention most rookies only dream of. But the moment she made a decision that didn't align with the league's polished image, she got slapped with a suspension. Just like that. And instead of rallying behind her, or even just letting it go, the league let the punishment speak louder than any support ever has. Sophie's reaction wasn't just about defending Caitlyn. It was about defending the principle that no player, rookie or veteran, should be penalized for simply being real. Because what's the alternative? That every athlete has to play the same robotic role just to stay out of trouble? That's not a league. That's a script. And Sophie's done acting. She's calling it what it is. A culture that wants the image of empowered women without actually giving them the power. A system that loves marketable moments but fears unfiltered truth. She's over it. And whether she leaves the league or takes a break, the message is clear. Something has to change. Because players are watching. Fans are watching. And every time the league chooses image over authenticity, it loses a little bit of what makes this sport worth following. So what happens if Sophie really does walk? Or if she doesn't come back? The league might survive, but it'll be a little less honest, a little less fiery, a little less human. And that's the real loss. Because Sophie Cunningham represents more than just points and stats. She represents a refusal to conform, a willingness to speak up when it's risky, and a love for the game that's deep enough to demand better from it. So yeah, the league might hope this all blows over, that fans move on, that players fall back in line. But the truth? It's already out. Sophie said it out loud. This system is broken. And if it doesn't change, the players who make this league what it is will start walking away. One by one, starting with her. So where do you stand? Is Sophie right to call it out? Or should she have stayed quiet? Was Caitlyn's suspension a one-off or a red flag? And what needs to change before more players decide the league isn't worth the emotional toll? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Because if this is what speaking out looks like, you'll want to be here for whatever comes next.